Benchwarmers Podcast. I am Casey Coggins. We are back. It is me. It is Alvin Hebert.
Nice to be back.
And Andrew Lira.
Yo, this tastes like Hatch chilies for real.
Straight up Hatch chilies.
Oh my god, this is so good.
Yeah. I mean, I drank it on an empty stomach, and it screwed me up the next day.
That's great. It's got the little bit of spice to it, but you taste the pepper, and it's so good.
Beer drinkers can unite. Ranger Creek came out with a San Antonio lager that has Hatch chilies in it. So that's what they're drinking. I'm drinking the good old fashioned Bud Light.
Oh man, this is I'm drinking Bud Light. The favorite beer of all your tios and tias.
That's not Dos Equis or Corona or Modelo or...
They can't afford those, man.
No.
Bud Light.
So, starting off this week, we have a few things on our plate, but we have to give a tip of the cap to a 16-year career that ended as of yesterday with San Antonio's favorite son. Adopted son. Oh, favorite.
Second favorite.
Who are you putting above him?
Who else?
Okay, so that was what I was gonna bring up earlier when I brought up the Shea Serrano thing. So Shea wrote, he was like, Manu was like, he was, he's Argentinian, he's like Latin America, and he's coming to a predominantly Hispanic Latin city. And he was like, Tim Duncan was the god we worshipped from afar, and Tony Parker was the little brother who was just kind of cast aside and was like always at a distance. But Manu, like the city, just he was gracious. He did all the media stuff. Like Tim, you could throw him out on a basketball court, and then he would just kind of lock himself into a closet. Whereas Manu, he was signing autographs. Like, I have a hat somewhere in this room that I have a Manu autograph on it, because he would go and hit every person that's standing around the tunnel. He would sign every single person's whatever they had for him to sign. He was signing it.
What a great guy.
He was a nice guy. Yeah, there's no going around it. But he was number 2.
I think it's
in the words of Hannibal Buress himself. Tim Duncan could murder somebody and the city would wrap it around it. Just like, not Tim, it was an accident.
Same thing with Manu. Same thing.
I don't know about that.
Tony, not so much. but
Tony saying, "Well, where's he at, huh?"
Yeah. But Manu and Tim are right, like 1A and 1B. Like Tim
was 1A.
Tim came first. Like if Manu, when he was drafted, Manu was drafted in 99, but he didn't get here until 02. If he had come straight over for that 99 season and was part of that first championship team, there's without a doubt that people would be talking about, like, Tim would be, Tim is the greatest player in Spurs history, and he's one of the top 10 players of all time. Manu helped them win 4 championships with, as I was listening to ESPN earlier, I was listening to the NBA podcast on The Ringer, and they were like, he was the intangibles. Like, you have the glue guy, you have the guy who takes a step back, and Tim did that at times, but Manu was the guy who rode the bench. He was their 6th man. He averaged like 25 minutes for his entire career. For as good of a passer as he is, and he's one of the reasons why the Spurs had created the beautiful game and play the type of system that they do, he never once had a year where he averaged more than 5 assists. Like, he did so many things, but he was still...
It was the pass before the pass.
He's still worshipped by people in San Antonio. And and there's a lot of people who you could probably go around the city and say, who's your favorite Spurs player of all time, and you would probably get more Manu Ginobili's than Tim Duncan.
No way.
Yeah, I don't see that.
No way.
I'm pretty sure.
No way.
I think you will get more Manus than Tim Duncan's.
No.
That's
Not at all. That was Timmy.
Yeah,
that's
dude.
Timmy.
Well,
Timmy could do no wrong.
Like
When you're talking about your Shea Serrano story that he posted, talking about how his family was arguing after he would mess up or something like that. Tim could do no wrong.
Yeah.
Ever.
Well, see, and that's the thing is like
Tim was that first college graduate, and the family is just like, no, Mijo, you're good. Don't worry about it. You picked up a little drug problem, but
see,
you got that degree.
But that's the thing is, I think you like Tim was our most important person, and that's why he could do no wrong. Because if he did wrong, then we're like he's the ground beneath us will crumble because he is the column that is holding up this altar.
He's the rock.
Yo, put it this way. He missed a fucking layup against the Miami Heat in the finals.
And I hope
And
he
then
holds that shit against him.
Nobody like holds it against him that he missed that shot.
I bring that shit up whenever we talk about it.
That one game where he fucked up at the end of the seconds.
So I can name a few things that the Tim thing.
It came with Manu. It came because of how wild he could play.
Yeah,
Manu would play wild.
He was
but when he messes up, like fans will be on his ass.
Because a lot of times he would try to get cute.
Exactly. But
Tim wasn't cute at all. Tim's cute shot was that bank shot.
But that's what I'm saying, though. Like the difference on how people react.
How many behind the back passes has Manu thrown in his career, and how many of them sailed,
Into the stands.
three rows into the stands, and it did happen, but the percentage of it happening was one that you can overlook it. Manu, people hold these things on Manu. Like in his entire career as a Spur, there's the foul on Dirk Nowitzki, which is second to me behind .4. In the last 18 years, there are two plays that like stick a thorn in my side, like as a Spurs fan, and it's .4 is number one, and then it was the foul on Dirk Nowitzki in the 06 playoffs, and then 3 is the Pop not putting Tim Duncan in Game 6. Like Game 6 is number 3 behind those two because we still had Game 7 when those two were such pivotal games. The .4 came after Tim Duncan hit a 3 over Shaq, banked it in, falling down.
Pigeon toe.
No, that was the one that he was shooting while he was like falling down. To the left.
That's right.
And then Fisher hit .4 and it gave them a 3-2 lead going back to LA. And then it was, I believe, Game 7 in 06 that Manu tried to block Dirk Nowitzki's shot and fouled him, and he ends up making the shot, which I believe tied the game at the time with like 36 seconds left. And then for Manu, it's the foul, but then it's also the missed free throw at the end of Game 6. Like, people talk about Kawhi's missed free throw. Manu missed the free throw before Kawhi missed the free throw. Like, they both split free throws down the stretch of that game. So there were a couple, and that was the game that I brought up, that it was after those playoffs where Manu played the worst game of his playoff career. And that's when they were like, well, Manu's 35 years old.
How about we hang him up?
Yeah. And that's the only time is like Manu. If that was 27-year-old Manu with the long hair, there's no way we would even think about trading Manu. Tony was the only person the Spurs ever thought about trading as far as the big three.
Tony was always underappreciated.
That's what I felt like. He was like the redheaded stepchild.
Yeah, he was a whipping boy.
Well, it was because he was the point guard. He's French. He has an attitude about him.
Also tried to play cute.
And yeah, tried to play cute.
San Antonio don't like cute. You know what? Just make sure the ball goes through the fucking basket.
Yeah.
We don't need the bells and whistles. We want to make sure there's either 2 points or 3 points being added on that scoreboard.
Yeah, but when they do have the bells and whistles, y'all goes just as nuts as everybody else.
Yeah, because it's cute.
Yeah.
Everybody likes
when
it's
it's
cute.
done right.
But when you try being cute and it don't work,
Exactly.
your cuteness is gone.
That's what everybody.
You want to be cute? Don't miss. Okay. Once you miss, all right, cool. This is what happens when you fucking try to be cute.
Give the ball. Just
yeah.
Go to your room now.
So Manuuuu's a Hall of Famer, of course.
Easy.
First ballot. He'll be inducted pretty quickly.
Do we have any other notable retirements
Coming up?
this offseason? This
For the NBA, no.
yeah.
I think he's the only one.
He's the only one. Dirk and Vince Carter will be next year.
Mm-hmm.
You sure about Vince Carter?
Who knows? Because he's talking like he wants to play until he's like 50.
Yeah.
And then people can say half man, half century. I think that's like one of those goals. He's like, screw it.
Yeah, but can do it.
If I'm dunking on guys, I can do it. But he's all, Dirk, the end of his career after he got that title has just gone down to shitter. Because his position hasn't aged with him. Like, what's crazy about like Vince Carter and what Manu has been doing like these last couple of years is that they're playing shooting guard, small forward positions, and they're getting guarded by some of the best defenders in the league, and they're still dusting them. They're still getting to the basket, making plays, and that's why like Vince Carter, his career is kind of. It's always been interesting because he's never really been on a contending team. And so like you can see him end his career with the Kings, and now he's with the Hawks where he can help mentor some of their rookies. But then you don't like he's not going out like on a pedestal. He's not getting carried out on people's shoulders. He's just kind of fading away. Those will be the two notable retirements for sure next year. If Vince Carter doesn't retire, then he's just trying to cash checks.
Child support might be catching up.
So
we don't even know the man. There were quite a few tweets that I saw about the Manu retirement of people who are like, Hall of Fame, like, the guy averaged, like, 15 a game, like, 15, 4, and 4 his entire career. He was only in 2 All-Star games. Like if you look at Manu statistically, just on paper, you're like, okay, yeah, what, like... Nothing special. Like
Matt Bonner retiring.
He's like one of the no, way different. Matt Bonner lucky to get 4 points a game.
Damn.
But Manu's one of those guys where he averaged, like I said earlier, 25 minutes a game. He willingly stayed in San Antonio when even a couple years ago or last year. Philadelphia was like, here's 2 years, $40 million. Like, come play for us. And he was like, no, I'm good in San Antonio. So he made the sacrifice to play less minutes a game, play a reduced role as far as what, like, he was, as I said, he was the glue. He was the guy who... we could bench our starters and we can bring in a second unit, and our second unit has always been as good, if not better, than the team that we're facing. Their starters because of a guy like Manu. He was always outside of those 2 plays I brought up earlier. Like, there was never a time that I can remember. Like, those are the only 2 times I can remember Manu failing in the bright lights. And like he always came up with the big shot. I was there when he hit the game-winning 3
in double overtime against the Warriors before the Warriors became the juggernaut that they are.
The big three he made right after the big three he missed in that game.
Yeah.
That was when Pop, after the game, said, I went from we're trading him immediately to, all right, you can stay.
Like,
see what I mean? But he would have said that about Tim Duncan.
Because you can't mess with Tim Duncan.
Well, I mean, that was Manu's career in a nutshell. Is like, you know, he would throw that pass 15 rows up, and then the next play he would get a steal, go behind the back, Euro step, and dunk on a 7'3" guy. And it's like Manu is
kind of like Des Bryant's career. A couple drop passes and a spectacular catch.
No, because it
touchdown reception.
It was for Des Bryant.
A couple drop passes and a one-handed touchdown.
It was. Why aren't you throwing me the fucking ball? Drop pass.
Can't get open.
Touchdown.
Can't get open. throw a tantrum on the sideline and then touchdown. Whereas Manu, like, he would throw the bad pass and then you could see he's like, my bad, and look at Pop, my bad. Like, he would accept that, you know, he tried to do something he probably shouldn't have done, but then he would always make up for it. Almost always make up for it.
Just like Des Bryant, he would get that touchdown.
How many Super Bowl rings does Des Bryant have?
How many? I don't know. Shit. Doesn't matter. Why are we talking about rings right now?
Manu won 4 championships in 16 years.
Who else was on that team?
Tony Parker.
Tim Duncan. You don't mess with him.
Oh, man. We just compared Manu to Des Bryant.
That might be the worst take that we've ever had on this podcast.
Next thing you know, Manu's going to meet with the Cavs.
One thing I wanted to do was I wanted y'all to try to pick a play from the distinguished career of Manu that really, like, made you appreciate him. What, like, when you think of Manu, you think of that type of play. And I know Andrew picked a pass. I picked a pass. So we'll start with Alvin.
What did not pick a pass.
What play did you come up with for Manu that really, like, exemplifies who he was as a player and his career and what's going to, like, be that lasting memory of Manu?
Oh,
Tim Duncan's bank shot.
I didn't like a specific play. I didn't pick one out, but it was like many times where he would just go to the hole, like take a nice little Euro step, and just dunk on somebody like out of nowhere.
Yeah,
Chris Bosh.
Yeah, there was one against the Lakers that he did back in like 2004, and he did it. He did it on Andrew Bynum. He's done it on. He's
done it on Kobe before.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure. But he has a name for dunking on people. Like,
yeah,
he has a nice little list of names that he's.
Oh yeah,
and,
he took names.
I feel like that's like his like game. Like, you don't expect him to play like that, but he has that fiery.
And that's what's always
banger
like,
mentality.
I mean, I really hate to like try to compare people when we're just trying to talk about Manu, but like that's James Harden. Like, James Harden's game is Manu 2.0. Like, and that's what, to bring up that Ringer NBA pod earlier, that's what they were talking about Manu with, is like, what if he followed the career path that James Harden did? What if Manu was like...
What if Manu went to Phoenix when D'Antoni was there?
Yeah, what if Manu was traded? But the thing is what if Manu was the best player and the biggest star on a team? Like, what if he was traded to Milwaukee back when in like 2004? Like, what if he was in Atlanta or something, where he was the guy that was playing 36 minutes a night and being the leader of a team? Like, what would his career look like? He probably wouldn't have the rings, but how, like, many
highlight plays would you have seen from him? Because 25 minutes a night gave us this. What if he played 35 minutes a night? Like how many? Like
there's a lot more room for error.
His best points per game season was he scored 19 a game, and I believe that was the only year he won Sixth Man of the Year, which is ridiculous. But he was only playing like 29 minutes a night that season. Like, what if you bump that up to the 37 that 7, I think, different guys played right around 37 minutes a night this season? Like, would he be scoring 26 and getting 9 assists, and he'd be a 26 and 9 guy? We don't know what could have been with Manu, because he just really wanted to play a game he loved and win, and he did both of that. But yeah, the sneaky athleticism that he had is he would take that Euro step, and he my favorite Euro step of his is when he makes that dribble with his left hand going right, and then he doesn't dribble again, but instead he crosses his body over the ball and starts going a different direction. And he would just dunk on unsuspecting sinners. Like, oh, it's Manu, he's gonna finger roll it, and then all of a sudden your ball's hitting your face.
This is rude.
He was your guys' flashy player, like back then when it was just nothing but just run to your spot
now
do the mechanical shit right.
The Spurs have had like minus Kawhi, because Kawhi was kind of flashy because he would steal and get a fast break dunk. But
those are the most boring fast break dunks.
Yeah,
it's just dribble,
Statue of Liberty dunk. Yeah, but the two flashiest, like, great Spurs players, one's known for a fucking finger roll, and the other's known for ball fakes. Like, that's the Spurs organization. So yeah, Manu's dunk on Chris Bosh, I think, will always be one of those like plays that will stay in Spurs lore for years to come. So now on to the passing game. Andrew, what is that
it's
play
gotta
for
be,
you?
It's gotta be the one I sent y'all. The hammer.
The hammer play.
Against the Thunder, I want to say it was the conference finals?
Yes.
Conference finals where he just swung it along the baseline. Nah, man, it's straight curved.
Yeah, he got outside of the
curved. Found Danny Green, and Danny Green just dropped it.
Well, and like that's why my reply to that text was like, if it wasn't for Manu's passing ability, that play is never drawn up, and teams are mimicking that play because of how effective it is. But you see how many times it fails when teams do it because the passer doesn't read the play correctly.
It's like Manu watched Wanted.
Yeah.
And instead of curving bullets, he's just curving that ball. He's putting all the torque into it, and he's like, it's like he's bowling on air. It's just that overhand, boom. And he's just you.
But yeah, for
he's on fire.
But for me, the one that really it's this type of pass, and I picked one out specifically. But growing up watching Manu playing basketball, like when I was playing basketball, like there were two guys that I really wanted to be able to pass like. It was Steve Nash, who I mimicked my game after. I mimicked my look after the damn dude.
He white, I'm white. He got long hair.
I got long hair.
He likes soccer. I play tennis.
I like soccer. But I shot threes and I passed the ball well. But
that's typical white boy game.
Steve Nash was like, I mean, he had some flashy passing, but it wasn't like Jason Williams type passing. He was kind of like a Bob Cousy player.
He wasn't using his elbows.
He was, he was dribbling around guys and then he was creating open looks just because of his dribbling ability.
Not his stepping ability.
But the guy that I wanted to throw passes like was always Manu, because Manu he was so adept at seeing the angles and when a guy was going to have space that he's throwing passes before the guy's there. It is like a quarterback throwing a wide receiver open. That's what Manu was able to do. And so the one that I picked out was from that the Lakers series when Kobe had torn his Achilles, and it was the Dwight Howard year. I think it was Kobe had torn his Achilles that year. Mm-hmm. But it was the Dwight Howard Lakers year, and they swept the Lakers. In Game 3, Manu's just dribbling the ball up pretty nonchalantly, but he sees Corey Joseph just rim running, and he, at half court, just throws this pass
between all 5 defenders.
He throws it with a backspin, so it bounces and it slows down and it hits Corey Joseph in stride, and he gets a layup out of it. And when I go and play pickup games, I'm the guy throwing those passes where, like, it always frustrates me playing pickup when guys aren't cutting. I'm like, look, if you just start cutting, just move your body instead of standing there, you will get hit in the head with the pass. Like just move, because I will throw you a pass and your defender's not going to expect it.
Casey's that CYO basketball coach. Just fucking move. Why are you standing still? Are you tired?
So I was playing a pickup game one day, and I got the rebound, and one guy actually ran down court, and I was like, thank the fucking Lord. And I throw this overhand spinning bounce pass, and it bounces at about half court, and I put that Manu Ginobili spin on it to where it breaks into his body, and it hits him right in the hands, and I'm like, I just put my hands up. I don't know.
And he missed the layup.
I don't know how the play ended. I don't know how the play ended. I literally just picked up my stuff and walked out. I was like, I did my job. That's all I was here for. Thank you. Good night.
Hey, that's all.
But that's why last night I had to do my rare Facebook post about Manu, and there's a pass to Patty Mills against the Bulls from a couple years ago where it's a give and go. Patty's up top, he throws it to Manu on the wing, and Patty just does his job and kind of moves without the ball. And Manu throws a fucking behind the back pass around his defender, bounces, hits Patty in stride for a layup, and it's just it's the slowest behind the back bounce pass you would probably ever see in an NBA game. As soon as
he saw that, he went back to the gym,
and that's all I worked on. Man, I was the kid that was doing the ball fakes and doing the Rajon Rondo up fake, and we're in layup lines
doing the James Harden Euro step, just got it.
Now, see,
that's 4 steps. We counted.
I had the James Harden step back where I would take 10 little steps. That's another thing that I almost picked was Manu's step back has to be one of the greatest step back jumpers ever, because he would typically he knew how to lean his shoulder into somebody and step back and create 3-4 feet, and then he could just take his time on a jumper. So there's just so many things that Manu was able to do that if you didn't watch Spurs games nationally because they were the boring team, you don't get to appreciate the Manu Ginobili that we've all watched for as long as we have. And it's sad to see him go, but Father Time is always undefeated, will always be undefeated.
And Until they start letting us use, like bionic legs and shit.
Yeah, little tink coming out on the.
Nanotechnology.
Again, a tip of the cap to Manu, and it's the Big Three era is officially over in San Antonio, and we'll see how this next season goes. In a month or so, we'll talk Spurs preview. Any last words on the career of Manu out of you guys?
No.
For San Antonio's favorite son?
Second favorite.
Second favorite, but he was just a great dude. Great player.
Yeah,
it was exciting to watch. He made
I'm just glad it's all over. I'm just glad it's all...
Yeah.
Like, there's no more questions left this offseason. Everything's been answered. Everything's been dealt with. We're going to go into the season, and we know where we're at.
No expectations this year, too, which is great.
Yeah, exactly.
So
that last time that happened, the Spurs won a championship.
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure every time they won a championship, they were expected to win a championship.
They weren't expected.
True. When?
They're never expected to win a championship. They just always did.
No,
and it wasn't until after it was over, they're just like, the Spurs just went 55 again.
See, that's the thing is the Spurs, when every year they've won a championship, they were, a top 3 contender for the title.
That was considered a better team in the finals. Every time they played the finals.
Yeah, but you have to get to the finals.
The second time they played against Miami, they was a heavy favorite.
Yeah, they weren't the favorite in the first time.
No, because they were 3 missed free throws away from sweeping them. That in 2014, when we won in 5, we could have swept them if we made 3 free throws.
I don't remember game 2 of that series. I think that was the one that I didn't watch.
There you go. Now we know why.
Yeah, that's why they lost. So let's move on to the next part of this week's pod. The Little League World Series wrapped up over the weekend, and I think
it started and finished since we've recorded.
No. It was.
We have one in.
Oh, well, so I was watching, the regional finals and stuff. I was watching before the world, the actual tournament, Williamsport part of the Little League World Series. So that's probably why my timing's all off. But the American team from Hawaii they are your international World Series, Little League World Series champion. And they were lights out.
They were better by a lot.
Yeah.
By a lot.
They're
you could double that South Korean team's talent and they would still lose.
I think it was their third string pitcher that pitched a shutout. They didn't have their main starter who hit the walk-off home run in the 11th inning.
Didn't they 10-run rule a couple teams?
They 10-run ruled Georgia, New York, and then I think they 10-run ruled. They might have 10-run ruled Georgia too.
Yeah, their bats were on fire.
Yeah, and like I said before we started, they had, I think it officially was a .43 ERA through the 5 games they played.
3 runs allowed the whole tournament.
Yeah, they didn't. There were only 2 innings out of every inning they played, and to be fair, one of those games went 11 innings. Only 2 of the innings they didn't have a base runner in.
Yeah, they were just by far the better team.
They were in South Korea. They were outstanding.
South Korea was looking good.
Yeah,
they were looking good up until then. It was man, South Korean team. South Korea is taking over, and they're good at everything.
Yeah, but man, there are some guys where I'm watching this Little League World Series, and I'm like, I can't wait to see you in a major league jersey.
Yeah.
Because they have there was a Japanese pitcher, Fujimoto, who
I've eaten
was
there before.
he
Great sushi.
but he was. I was like, it was like watching John Lester pitch. Like that was his delivery, like slow, deliberate, chubby left-hander. That was.
I love those chubby Asians. I don't know if that's politically correct or not, but even like that South Korean kid with the circle glasses, I was like, bro, you're the best.
Yeah. Look, I'm not.
Coming from a chubby guy, the chubby kids always win your hearts.
We're trying to get too politically correct. We need to understand when something's a joke and something's not a joke, and like I have the thing where it's like it's not rude or offensive unless you think of it as rude or offensive. And I know that you're not being rude or offensive by that.
Yeah, it's not like I called. Never mind.
Now we're getting too far.
I'm not going straight Gran Torino right now.
But there's the Gregory Bruno from the New York team.
The pitcher?
Yeah. The pitcher from the Texas team, who had some name that I could never pronounce. Yeah. The Kea from Hawaii, and it's all it's all the kids who as I heard Mark Titus on The Ringer, he was like, all the kids who hit puberty already, like those are the kids that are like blasting home runs.
They got more testosterone,
throwing 74 miles an hour. Like,
what really got me with that Hawaiian team is the fact that the hurricane was there at the same time.
Yeah.
And it's just like you could tell everybody was somewhat worried.
Did you see? Were you watching when they showed a lady? She was holding up a poster and it says hurricanes predict winners.
Yeah.
Because last year the Texas team won the United States championship, and they were from McAllister Park, I believe.
Yeah, I think so.
And we had Hurricane Harvey hitting us at that same time. So.
But yeah, as soon as there's like, oh, the hurricane's coming, it's hitting Hawaii. All these kids are from the big island that it's on, and this, and this. I was like, oh, cool. You can't beat God. These kids are playing for something now.
Yeah, well, I mean, the Puerto Rico team too. Like their home field doesn't have power when they're playing on it.
Puerto Rico has power now. They don't count anymore.
They don't count anymore.
That
was last year's
statute of limitations to not being able to play at night.
This is the more recent hurricane. Sorry.
But it was just the coach. He has no kids, so
yes,
no
I love that about him too. He had no kids.
He was just there, like he's the coach because he loves baseball and he wants to grow the community, and he wants to teach these kids like how to be athletes. And never once did he talk about winning or losing. He always like when they won it, he huddled up the team. His first thing was, all right, guys, we need to stay humble now. All right,
always about being humble.
It was loving the game. It was being humble. It was like, let's go congratulate them. Like, have fun out there. Like that is what we need. We need more of that in youth sports.
Yeah, because if that was me, forget about it. I'll be going full Baker Mayfield grabbing the crotch. We won, dog.
I'd be running out there with our Yeti coolers, just throwing beers up into the stands.
Running bases with the bat in your hand, swinging it. Yeah!
You got who was, I don't know if it was Reese Davis or Chris Fowler, but the main host is like, and now we have the Texas coach running around naked in the outfield. For whatever reason, he is now rubbing his testicles up on the man's the bust behind center field. You do know that the kids touched that after they win, right? Yeah, I know.
He just teabagged the second base.
Oh my god, you guys are
man.
It turned left real quick.
Doesn't it always?
But it was a great tournament.
I was just watching Tokyo Drift like the other day.
Oh my god. The worst one.
Exactly. Bow Wow. That's all you gotta say.
What the hell's his name in Friday Night Lights?
Oh, the quarterback.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I just watched Friday Night Lights too.
The only character who's worth anything in that movie is Han.
And he dies.
Yeah. Fucking Jason Statham.
Spoiler alert.
No. So yeah, it's always fun watching the Little League World Series, and it's really sad that the older I get, the more into it I get. But I guess that's just like me getting closer
I
to
thought you were gonna say the older you get, the more money you bet on it.
No. I will never bet on a Little League game.
I was like, okay.
The only time that I'll ever bet on a Little League game is if it's like my son playing.
Oh, even better.
I'd be like, hey, motherfucker, $50. My son gets a single off of your son. You know your son's like 4'3" and 60 pounds, and my son's like 6'4".
And black.
That don't mean shit. We're not playing basketball.
You know my son is 6'2", 210, and from Nicaragua, right?
Alvin? I said 6'2".
I'm just gonna finish my beer. We're gonna get out of here. We're gonna wrap this up, guys.
But it's. I mean, I love baseball, so I'll watch any baseball game that's on. Hell, I started watching softball, even like more softball when they have it on.
World Series.
Yeah. So it was fun to watch. One of the beauties about the Little League World Series is they play 6 innings, and some of those kids are tremendously good. And the games last like an hour and a half tops. So you don't have to there's not as much of a time investment. So let's finish up this week giving y'all our fantasy football preview, little breakdown.
Draft days are nearly coming.
Yeah, some people have already drafted, which is ridiculous because preseason's not even over. There's you're the running back that you just drafted with the 5th pick is going to get hurt in game 4, right? That's just going to happen. Wait until the dust settles on the preseason to draft. So we're going to give a surprise. So with the surprise, it's going to be somebody out of the top 15 for their position that is going to end up being a top 10 player at that position for the year. We're going to go with a bust, a top 10 player who is going to fall out of the top 15. And then a couple rookies, 1 or 2 rookies who are going to have pretty good years that you should kind of eye that, with rookies, there's not as much that's expected out of them, so you can maybe sneak one of these guys in the 7th, 8th round after you get, those top tier guys. I just want to make sure, did y'all do one for each position? You have a guy for each position: quarterback, running back, tight end, and wide receiver.
I've got quarterback, running back, wide receiver, and tight end.
Just, different order.
But, yeah.
You're good, Alvin? We're good?
Not for rookies, but
I don't have a rookie.
Surprise and bust.
Get out of here, guys.
We're scrapping the rookie.
I'm going to bring up 2 rookies that I think that are going to be surprises. So for quarterbacks, let's go ahead and start with surprises. Andrew, who's a surprise quarterback to keep an eye out on?
I don't know if it's just the hard knock hard on, but
Tyrod
Taylor. I mean,
he's always undervalued, man.
Yeah, and I mean with Jarvis Landry,
Flash Gordon.
Yeah, man. I mean,
Duke Johnson, who's a good receiving running back out of the backfield. Their tight end, who I always forget his damn name, Njoku.
Yeah.
Who's in his 2nd year now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
I don't want to say Josh Gordon because I don't know
He's fully cleared.
He's fully cleared, but he hasn't played in 2 years.
He played last year.
No, he played last year.
He played at the end of last year.
And he was smoking people.
Yeah.
All right, well,
What cornerback was it? One of the best cornerbacks in the league. Is it Casey Hayward, the San Diego Chargers cornerback? It's Hayward something.
Gordon.
Not Gordon.
Gordon.
But the San Diego,
He's with Boston now.
The San Diego Chargers cornerback, who's really one of the best cornerbacks in the league, said that his toughest player to guard behind Odell Beckham was Josh Gordon last year. And this is coming off of like a full year and a half not playing. So
and now he gets part of preseason.
He has a receiver on the other side that can like get some attention, and he has a quarterback who can throw the ball further than 15 yards downfield. I don't know if y'all watched many Browns games or watched Deshaun Kaiser try to throw a pass, but he was trying to throw like 15-yard outs, and those things were like Peyton Manning at 41 years old.
That's the first time I've ever heard you speak down about Peyton Manning.
He got old.
Still crazy. That's just proof that Tom Brady's the GOAT. Tom Brady's 41.
Well, things aren't clear. Tom Brady. To be clear.
I was waiting for it.
We'll see how this year stacks up. Alvin, your surprise quarterback.
My surprise quarterback is, I'm going to one more time put faith in him. It's going to be Marcus Mariota.
Yeah, he's
finally going to have an offense that knows how to call plays.
Well, there's that, and then they got rid of, or they didn't get rid of, they kind of got rid of DeMarco Murray. Like, they didn't offer him a contract. They were just kind of like, all right, we're done with you, and so he ended up retiring. And so now I'm like, yeah, they have Derrick Henry, who's a good running back and somebody you can feed the ball to, but
I don't trust Derrick Henry.
But
I think he's too big.
I think he's
great.
Yeah, I think he's gonna be somebody to watch out for. He's not somebody I picked on here, but he's definitely going to be somebody who, like, if you get him in the right draft spot, maybe he'll slip through the cracks and end up being undrafted. I doubt that because he's ranked the 23rd best running back. But if you can get him in the middle rounds, the like 6th, 7th round, like, he's a good running back 2, running back 3 option. Because he's going to get a majority of the load. You have Corey Davis, who should be healthy in his second year. Who is their other wide receiver? Spacing on him.
Did Delaney Walker retire?
No, they have Delaney Walker.
Matthews?
Rashard Matthews. So they have some weapons. But I think, it seems like this year might be a year to let Mariota sling it around a little bit. For me, my quarterback is a guy who I think is going to have a bounce back year. Derek Carr. The year that he had 2 seasons ago, he was one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Had he not gotten hurt, they would probably have been the favorites to win the AFC because of how good he was and that team was. They got rid of Michael Crabtree, but they brought in Martavis Bryant. If Martavis Bryant realizes that he's the error of his ways in Pittsburgh, the reason why they were just kind of like, yeah, whatever, we don't need you anymore, and pair him up with Amari Cooper in the types of things that offense can do with, I believe they still have Jared Cook as their Cook as their tight end. Like, Derek Carr is a top talent quarterback, and right now he's ranked as the 26th best quarterback
behind the likes of Andy Dalton,
Eli Manning,
Ryan Tannehill off of ACL,
Mitchell Trubisky,
Dak Prescott, who doesn't have a receiver to throw to.
Matt Ryan.
Yeah, he does.
He has a few. Nobody the type of talent is Amari Cooper.
He's even behind Matthew Stafford.
Well, duh. Drew Brees is behind Matthew Stafford on this list.
And
That's a mistake.
Yeah.
That's a big mistake.
I think that might be because of the fact that Drew Brees is 40 years old now, and
But still, Matt
they're,
Stafford
they're,
just isn't
they're,
good.
they're going to try to limit his throws. Where Matt Stafford, the defense for the Lions is probably going to be pretty bad.
You guys got some pretty dope secondaries, though.
Yeah, and I mean, I think people are sleeping on Jared Davis or Gerard Davis, and the middle linebacker, and there's still some talent. They still have Ziggy Ansah,
Darius Slay.
yeah, and Glover Quinn. But Matthew Stafford's going to be relied on to throw the ball a lot more. Doesn't have the consistent running game that the Saints have. So it's that classic, like, I think it was like 3 years ago, Blake Bortles was putting up like top 5, top 10 fantasy numbers because their team was so bad that like they just threw the ball the entire second half, and so he would end up with 50 50 attempts, get like 30 completions, throw for like 3 touchdowns, and end up with a bunch of yards and be able to put up points. So Derek Carr is my sleeper as far as quarterbacks go. Now for busts, I have a feeling that a couple or two of us are probably going to have picked the same person. There's that possibility. Andrew, who is your bust quarterback?
Well, it's time. Not for you, Alvin.
Oh.
Father time?
Father time. Got Tom Brady. 41 years old now. He's not. I mean, he's reigning MVP,
Welcome to hell, Satan.
but
So you joined the other side?
he's old.
Who the fuck is he going to throw the damn ball to?
Gronk? Hogan? Edelman? The same dirtbag motherfuckers he's been throwing to?
Julian Edelman suspended the first 4 games.
Alright, you got Hogan.
Chris Hogan, not that good.
Who else do they have? You got Gronkowski.
Plays like 4 games.
They don't have it. They let Nate Solder walk. The guy they drafted just tore his Achilles and is out for the season. So their offensive line isn't as good as it was last year. Gronk is probably going to get hurt at some point this year.
They got Jordan Matthews. Look, we're acting like he hasn't thrown it to nobody before, and still put up numbers and won Super Bowls with no names.
No, he made them names, and then he won the Super Bowl with them.
All right, so he made.
So not that year. So that's saying like he'd be winning next year.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you want to put it,
He'll be
that way.
42 then too.
Well, unfortunately, Tom Brady hasn't won a Super Bowl without a top 8 defense. And
Made up numbers.
trust me, I've done plenty of deep diving in Tom Brady's career because I have to try to pull, because everybody comes back at me as like he's won 5 Super Bowls. I was like, I don't give a fuck. Like football,
He's better than Peyton.
Football's like the ultimate team sport. Like if you don't have a defense, then there's only one time a quarterback won a team won a Super Bowl with a defense that was ranked outside of the top 20. And that was because that team that won the Super Bowl that year was ranked 32nd. The team they beat in the Super Bowl was ranked 31st. And that was when the Packers beat the Steelers. I mean, defense wins championships.
Made up numbers.
So we're going to put that as a point against for like Tom Brady, Russell Wilson for the rest of their career.
Russell Wilson
Dan Marino.
won his Super Bowl as a middle of the pack starter that year.
I'd put below average.
He had
Marshawn.
No. His numbers that year, he was 15th in passing yards and he was 16th in passing touchdowns. There are 32 teams in the NFL. He was literally middle of the pack, but they had Marshawn and they had that defense.
The Legion of Boom.
They had the number 1 defense for 4 years in a row.
They started the game with the fucking safety.
Well, that wasn't because of the. Well, that was kind of. That was because the center snapped it over Peyton.
Oh, okay.
Well, Peyton can't do anything when the snap goes 3 feet over his head.
He's like 6'4". You could catch it.
He's 6'4" and 39 years old and white.
Jump? Yeah. You don't need your neck for that.
You need your neck to be able to reach up.
Hey, snapper right off the ball. Hey, fucking down. It's not that hard. What was that?
Refreshment time.
Might as well.
Alvin, who is going to be your bust quarterback?
My bust quarterback is going to be Andrew Luck.
That was the other one. There were 3 guys in the top 10 that I was looking at, and I was like, all right, well,
I don't see how they have him number 7.
Tom Brady's old because he's fucking good, and if he stays healthy,
I don't trust him. I don't trust Andrew Luck.
See, that's the thing is the rankings aren't based off of like
Trust.
injury percentage. Like
all
that's
right, but look, all right. So right now, you're going to have Andrew Luck above Drew Brees right now.
right now.
Right now.
Yes.
No.
What?
Because same reason I gave y'all for Matt Stafford. No reliable run game. They're probably going to be in shootouts all year, so you have to throw the ball more. Drew Brees is going to get to hand the ball off probably half of the game because they're going to go 12-4.
So are you all right? Are you fine with Andrew Luck ahead of Matthew Stafford right now?
Yes. Right now, yes. You know why? Because I don't
Because the
like
season hasn't started.
because I don't like Jim Bob Cooter as the offensive coordinator for the Lions. Because if y'all watched the Lions last year and the year before, what were they known for? Fourth quarter comebacks. That was the only reason they were in the playoff hunt, was because they were coming back in fourth quarters, because the first 3 quarters they're putting up points like 3 and 7 because they're not scoring. And then all of a sudden Jim Bob Cooter is like, oh shit, we need to let Matt Stafford just sling the ball around, and then they start scoring points in the fourth quarter. They led the league in points in fourth quarter points last year. They're trying to establish the run game. They're going to be throwing a lot more short passes. So the Stafford is going to need to hopefully throw 25 plus touchdowns, where I can almost guarantee you that if Andrew Luck plays all 16 games, he's going to throw for over 30. And there's not a hopefully throw 30. He's going to throw for 30.
The one time where we actually expect you to back up your boy, you don't do it.
Well, when I'm not right, like if it's not the right thing, like that's Matt Stafford has all the talent to be a top 5 fantasy quarterback, but it goes along the lines of play calling, situational. That's why I'm okay with Drew Brees being at 11, because if the Saints are going to go 12-4, like I think they're going to, it's going to be Alvin Kamara, Mark Ingram running the ball. It's going to be that defense. They're probably going to have a top 5 defense at the end of the year. Like, that's how good their defense is. And that's how good their team is, that they're not going to need to rely on Drew Brees throwing for 5,000 yards in a season again. My bust is Kirk Cousins. I never really liked him at Washington. I didn't think he was...
So I guess you're saying you didn't like that?
No.
You didn't like
I have to be honest here. I hold a slight grudge with Kirk Cousins because they drafted him the same year that they drafted RG3. And the Shanahans didn't like RG3. It was Gibson, Daniel Gibson, whatever. Snyder. Dan Snyder. Like whoever that incompetent owner is decided that he wanted to trade everything to the Rams to get the second pick to get RG3. RG3 came out guns a-blazing, tore his ACL, rushed back too early. But then Mike Shanahan was like, he just got upset. His son was the offensive coordinator, so when RG3 did come back, they catered their offense to not really letting him do anything, and it just so there's a little grudge that I hold against the Shanahans for the RG3 debacle. But even then, like watching Washington's offense, it's just I can't trust Kirk Cousins. I think if Minnesota is going to repeat the same year that they had last year, it's going to be because their defense is a monster. And Dalvin Cook is healthy, and he's running for like 1,500 yards. I don't think it's going to be Kirk Cousins throwing to Stephon Diggs and Adam Thielen.
Kyle Rudolph, bro.
Kyle Rudolph had a down year last year.
Makes it easier to have an up year.
So I don't see Kirk. I see Kirk Cousins being like, they have Jared Goff at 19. Like, Jared Goff is going to have a better year than Kirk Cousins. So I don't see Kirk Cousins being able to be a top 10 fantasy quarterback by year's end. Moving on to the running backs. We'll start with surprises again. The guy that I put down as my surprise is Chris Thompson from Washington. Out of Florida State. One of the Florida universities, Florida or Florida State. He was a blazer coming out of college, and the first couple years he got hurt last year, I believe, but he had all the signs of being a great fantasy running back. And with the offense that they're going to have with Alex Smith, they're going to run that kind of West Coast offense, and Darius Geis, who was going to be their starter, got hurt. He's out for the year. So Chris Thompson's going to step back into that role, and he's right now ranked on this sheet. He's ranked at number 40 overall for running backs. So he's somebody who I have as a surprise that I think is going to end up in that top 15 running back range, mainly just because of use. Alvin, your surprise running back.
It's going to be Derrick Henry. He finally gets a full-time position. And I think now they always ran the ball well in Tennessee. But
that they're one of those. They were running like 3 tight end sets where the third tight end was an offensive lineman just so that they could run the ball.
Man, there was games where him and DeMarco Murray both had over 100 yards rushing in the same game. So he definitely shows he has the talent. Now he gets the full workload. I think he's going to put up better numbers than what they got him at, 23?
Yeah. He's a little lower than he probably should be. But the one that I'm curious about that's above him is like Joe Mixon and Jerick McKinnon.
Yeah, those two I saw. I was like, what?
Yeah, they have talent, but who knows what their usage is going to be and just what they're going to actually do. Where I think with Derrick Henry, he's going to have the load. He's going to be the main back, and they like to pound the rock. Andrew, on to you.
My surprise running back, I've got Christian McCaffrey. With Carolina.
I mean, he's expected to have a pretty good year, but are you gonna put some like top 3 running back by the end of the year, top 5.
Man, I don't know. Shit.
Yeah, because I believe Jonathan Stewart is now gone from Carolina.
Yep.
The full load is on Christian McCaffrey. They picked up C.J. Anderson as the backup running back, but with how his year went last year with the Broncos, it wasn't quite as good as the year before. So we'll see what C.J. Anderson is able to do. But Christian McCaffrey, in a PPR league, which I'm absolutely against, would be a top 5 type of player, because I think he caught like 70 passes as a rookie last year. But now they're gonna hand the ball off to him more, so he's gonna get more carries. He's gonna be in for a majority of the plays, and so he's gonna have a really good year, I think, as long as the health bug doesn't get in the way of that. Follow it up, Andrew. Who's your bust?
Leonard Fournette.
Oh yeah.
That's the guy that I picked as my bust too. But Andrew, enlighten the folks on why you think he's going to be a bust.
I just don't see him having the same year. I mean, Blake Bortles. I see a big year for Blake Bortles. And I don't see it revolving around Leonard Fournette, really. Like,
Leonard Fournette is going to get the Adrian Peterson treatment. Like, if I'm playing Jacksonville, their top fantasy receiver, let's go down the line. Fantasy receiver. This might take a while because I have to find them. Let's see. Marquise Lee, who just got hurt, by the way, is their top receiver in fantasy, and he's the 52nd ranked wide receiver. Let's deep dive going further. Then they have 68 and 69 with Dante Moncrief, the former Colt, and that's LAC, not JAC. So they have the 68. And then Keelan
79.
Cole is 79. So yeah, not a whole lot of talent to throw the ball to. And they have Austin Seferian Jenkins as their tight end, but he's had health problems in the past. So I'm playing press, man-to-man, 9 men in the box, and Leonard Fournette is going to average like 2.5 yards a carry. Like, and if he has, as he's ranked number 8 on the list that I have, if he has a number 8 running back season, then I'm going to already put him in the Hall of Fame. That's just because that's going to be the type of thing. Those are going to be the types of things that he's going to have to do for this Jacksonville team. Like, I think Jacksonville still might make the playoffs because of how damn good that defense is, but they're going to be winning games like 7-6, where their 7 came off of Jalen Ramsey pick 6. Like, that's just Jacksonville's offense is going to be putrid this year. So yeah, I picked Leonard Fournette as well as my running back bust. Alvin, who do you have?
Mine is
Leonard
Saquon
Barkley.
Saquon.
Yup, same method as he was using. I mean, I know they got OBJ, but I still don't think he's worth that money. And the next person that they got is Sterling Shepard. Other than that, they don't got anybody.
I personally really like Sterling Shepard.
And then Evan Ingram, I don't think he's a top 6 tight end in the league anyways.
Yeah, it's going to be, they tried to bolster their offensive line. They drafted Saquon to take some pressure off of Eli in hopes that those two will balance each other out. The fact that they have Beckham and Eli will hopefully keep some pressure off of Saquon. and the fact that they have Saquon will hopefully take some pressure off of Eli and the receiving core. I'm not as down on Sterling Shepard as you are, because I watched him at OU, watched his first couple years in the league, and he's a solid slot receiver, bordering on a very solid number 2, and it's just. It's another one of those things that I said about Matt Stafford, I've said about Andrew Luck, is the defense on the Giants is probably not going to be keeping them in games. So what's going to keep them in games? Eli Manning throwing the ball to OBJ, which might take some of the numbers away from Saquon. But it could be a little bit of a mixture of what happened with Dak Prescott and Zeke in their first year. Is Saquon could be so good that they can just hand the ball off to him, and and their offensive line might be a lot better than it was last year, and he might have a phenomenal year. But it'll be, because I think he's definitely talented enough to have a great year, but I don't know about the team around him. So let's move on to receivers. But first, I want to talk about my first rookie that I have as somebody who you should keep your eye out for. Kerryon Johnson for Detroit. He's my only Detroit guy that I'm going to really hype up.
He's trying to reverse jinx it. Yeah. The only guy I'm going to hype up.
So, reports out of yesterday were that they are looking to trade Amir Abdullah. And if they can't find a trade for Amir Abdullah, they're probably going to cut him after the 4th week of preseason. So it's going to be Kerryon Johnson, Theo Riddick, and LeGarrette Blount in that backfield. LeGarrette Blount is strictly there for goal line touches. Theo Riddick is strictly there to be the third down back, catch passes out of the backfield. He's the change of pace guy. Kerryon Johnson is going to be the guy that they'll hand the ball off to on first and second down. And they have a good offensive line. They've been working on their offensive line. And if he is anything like he looks in preseason, if he's anything like he looked at Auburn, he might be able to break the streak of lack of 100-yard rushers for the Lions. The last 100-yard rusher for the Lions was Reggie Bush in 2015. I'm not saying he's going to have a phenomenal year. Not saying draft him number 1 overall, but I'm saying that at running back 32 at 85 overall, Kerryon Johnson is somebody who you might want to draft, see how the first couple weeks plays out, and then if he shows what he can do in those first couple weeks, then you can throw him into your starting running back slot. So now onto the receivers. Alvin, who's surprising you this year?
This year, man, I could have gone with a couple of people, but I'm gonna go with Tyreek Hill. I think he's gonna be in that top 5.
Yeah, with Mahomes.
Yep.
Yeah, I was going to pick Pat Mahomes as my surprise, but seeing as how it's going to be his first year starting, I wasn't sure if we would talk about him. I know it's not his rookie year, because this is his second year in the league, but it is his. If he was an NBA player, he would win Rookie of the Year, because he's ranked number 12 on our list of quarterbacks, and I think there's a reason for that because of the type of talent that guy has. He's going to be able to do things in that Kansas City offense that Alex Smith could never do. And Tyreek Hill has that type of speed. that few guys have in this league. So they'll be able to use Tyreek Hill in more ways than they ever have before. And he's already ranked number 15 on the receivers list. So that Kansas City offense could, with Mahomes, Kareem Hunt, Tyreek Hill, it could be Travis Kelce, could be scary. Andrew, your surprise receiver.
I've got Stephon Diggs.
Stephon, okay.
Yeah.
Not Thielen?
Nah, I got Stephon Diggs. I know Casey was hating on Kirk.
Captain Kirk.
Yeah. But
Scrub.
I can see some connections being made.
Oh, I mean, Stephon Diggs is a phenomenal receiver. He's I think he's a little cleaner of a route runner than Thielen is. Thielen's a little more explosive than Stephon Diggs is. I think that's right. If I know. But yeah, I mean, I've really liked Stephon Diggs since he got drafted. I believe out of Notre Dame. His sister is Skylar Diggs, the great female basketball player. So I mean, he's right there with some of the top receivers in the league. And if Kirk Cousins proves me wrong, then Stephon Diggs is going to have an amazing year, especially being like that. Minnesota has a chance to be right where they were last year because of the talent they have on that team. They're just so good. I went a lot further down the list for my surprise receiver because y'all are sitting right there at 14 and 15 on our list. Mine couples with the quarterback that I picked because if the quarterback I picked to be the surprise, Derek Carr, is going to be the surprise, it's going to be because of this receiver who is ranked 63.
Jordy Nelson.
Is Martavis Bryant. Martavis Bryant on our list here is actually behind Jordy Nelson, and John Gruden even said that Jordy Nelson's main job there was to be a professional. Was to teach people how to be a pro player. And Martavis Bryant, I don't think has really ever had that. Like, that's one of, like, Pittsburgh is a better Cincinnati. Like, that's, like, if Cincinnati had the type of talent Pittsburgh does, Cincinnati would be in the same place Pittsburgh is. They seem to run kind of a wild and wacky environment where guys are just
raping women.
What?
Mike Tomlin, you need to calm your shit. But it, like, you can look at like the Vontaze Burfict and the Pac-Man Jones from Cincinnati. I mean, Joe Mixon's on the team. But then you look at Pittsburgh and they kind of have the same personalities, but instead of their best players being Andy Dalton and AJ Green, their best player is Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell. Like the talent differential between Cincinnati and Pittsburgh is pretty severe. That's why Pittsburgh can overcome all the drama and the antics and the personality. And Martavis Bryant just fit right in line with that culture. Now going to Oakland, like if it was the Al Davis Oakland, you might have an issue, but I think John Gruden and Jordy Nelson and the other guys that are there already, they're going to be able to rein him in. And the talent that Martavis Bryant, like we touched on Josh Gordon earlier, like he's such a talent of a wide receiver where he's fast, he's big, he's athletic, he has good hands. The only problem that he had in Pittsburgh was his attitude. And so that's why I see him as my surprise. And so before we go, let's go on to the busts of the receivers. Almost passed over that. Andrew, who's busting?
I got Mike Evans. I'm done with this. Mike Evans, Jameis Winston.
Famous Jameis. And
It's
Mike Evans has been the best one and solid player out of all of them.
yeah, but still, he needs a quarterback to get him the ball.
Yeah.
I don't trust the quarterback to get him the ball.
yeah, Mike Evans is... he's...
Even with the crap ass quarterback that he had.
I mean, he was still putting up ridiculous numbers.
That's what I'm saying.
Like he's a type of guy that you can be like, oh yeah, Mike Evans is double teamed, but I'll still throw the ball up because as long as I get it high enough, my guy's gonna have a higher probability of catching it than your guys are. But yeah, Mike Evans is probably a solid choice.
I think he's wasting his talent there, really.
Yeah.
It's possible.
Possible.
But I mean, like that's kind of the crazy thing about where Tampa Bay is that's like they were the hot pick to win the NFC last year. Because they had, a good front seven. They had Mike Evans, they had Deshaun Jackson, they have Cameron Brate at tight end, and they had Jameis. And Jameis has tremendous talent, but he doesn't quite have it between the ears.
Yeah, he's his own worst enemy.
Yeah, and so like all it takes is really one misstep to adjust things, and if Jameis ever takes that like to heart and like he's like, oh well, I got suspended, I'm not there for my team, and like starts changing things for the better. And I mean it also comes down to who's coaching him and the coordinators and stuff. Like there's still a possibility that Tampa Bay is going to get good again, but this year's not the year. Alvin, you're bust.
My bust is Larry Fitzgerald.
What?
I think he's finally going to be out the top 10.
DNP old.
I mean, with that quarterback that he has not been looking good in preseason. I know not the whole stock in preseason, but there's times where you got to look at preseason and just say, like, man, this guy just don't have it.
Well, so are you saying that guy doesn't look good as in Sam Bradford or Josh Rosen?
Both of them.
Because Sam Bradford, as long as he's healthy, like every year that he's been healthy, he's probably been a top 5 quarterback. He actually last year Drew Brees broke his record, but the year before he set the record for highest completion percentage in an NFL season. The years that he was with the Rams, like when he was healthy, he was putting up numbers and he was playing great. So if he can stay healthy, Fitzgerald's probably going to have a good year. But if you're banking on that, look at Minnesota, look at the Rams, look at Philly. Sam Bradford's not staying healthy. That's why they drafted Josh Rosen.
And they're going to be trying to force feed David Johnson for half of the game.
I would hope not that they're not trying to force feed him. He broke his wrist.
And once it gets healed, it's stronger than before. Throw a couple rods in there, you're good.
My bust is AJ Green. Not because he's not he's better. He's a better receiver right now than both of the guys y'all said were going to be busts. He's better than Mike Evans. He's better than Larry Fitzgerald right now. But the problem is his quarterback is Andy Dalton. The problem is they're not going to have that great of a running game. The problem is they're going to come in last in that division. He's going to have a decent year, but he's ranked number 7 as wideouts, and I honestly think that the guys that y'all were saying, Tyreek Hill, Stephon Diggs, they have a higher probability of having a better year than AJ Green.
You still got Josh Gordon down there.
Yeah, Demaryius Thomas,
Brandon Cooks,
Juju Smith-Schuster, some of these guys that are wide receiver 2s, I think might end up having better years because they're on better teams with better offenses. So AJ Green at 7,
if I can get AJ Green in the 4th round of my draft, then I'll probably take him. But even
like
then,
him being like your receiver 2 or receiver 3.
yeah, I don't think he's a receiver 1 this year, so that's why he's my bust. So before we finish up on tight ends, my second rookie that I think people need to watch out for, and I couldn't believe it when I saw that he was this low on the receivers list, is Calvin Ridley. The rookie out of Alabama, number 1 receiver taken in the draft. When he was at Alabama, I'm pretty sure he broke like every receiving record that they had. That I think Julio Jones might have actually set, who is his teammate now. And so on one side you have Julio Jones, who, if you don't double cover him, he's going to burn you for 300 yards. So then it leaves Calvin Ridley on the other side to be able to run clean routes. He has great hands. And I think with a second year under Sark, with the bad taste in their mouth from how poor they played last year, like they still made the playoffs last year, and you could probably say that was a big disappointment. Last year I had picked them to go back to the Super Bowl and win the thing because of how good they are. So Calvin Ridley, he's right now ranked at the 59 receiver, 126 overall. So he's another guy that you might be able to get in the later rounds as your wide receiver 3, wide receiver 4, right around those numbers. And he should be of great value. Now let's finish up. We're not going to get to defenses and kickers because the points that they get you are, for the most part, insignificant. There are some times where a defense gets 5 interceptions, a block punt, a pick 6, those types of things where the numbers for the defense just jump up dramatically, but those weeks are few and far between. So we're gonna go with surprise and bust on tight end and wrap up this week. So my surprise is Vernon Davis. He is the 32nd ranked tight end. He's with Washington.
Really?
He's the backup to Jordan Reed. Likelihood of Jordan Reed playing all 16 games is low. But the reason I picked Vernon Davis is because of the quarterback, who happens to be Alex Smith, who happened to be a teammate of Vernon Davis in San Francisco. They already have some kind of connection and they know what each other's capabilities are. So I think Vernon Davis is going to have a very, very good year for Washington. And what's surprising to see is that I went with 2 Washington players on offense because they might be the worst team in that division. But I think Vernon Davis, at ranked 32, like you can literally not draft him
and be okay,
and then sign him after the first week or 2. Like you can shore up everything else and then be like, all right, well, now that I got those shored up, let me go sign Vernon Davis. So he's going to be my surprise. Andrew, your surprise tight end?
My surprise tight end isn't really a surprise tight end. It's just Jimmy Graham. New team, new system, new quarterback. An actual quarterback he hasn't really had since Drew Brees.
If he wasn't, like you said, he's not really a surprise, I project Jimmy Graham to be the number 1 tight end this year.
Yeah.
Like, with no hesitation. Like, Jimmy Graham is going to have double-digit touchdowns, and he's going to have over 1,000 yards receiving. Like, it's just a no-brainer that if I can get Jimmy Graham we'll see how the draft plays out. But if I can pick Jimmy Graham in the 3rd round, I'm probably doing it because I think that's how good he's going to be. In an ideal world, depending on the league, 8-team league, snake draft, I'm getting somebody like a Zeke Elliott in the 1st round. I'm getting somebody like a DeAndre Hopkins in the 2nd, and I'm getting Jimmy Graham in the 3rd. And I'm set. Winning.
Done.
Game blouses. Alvin, your surprise tight end.
My surprise tight end, I'll say it's Jared Cook. I believe he'll have better numbers than probably Burton, Reed, Ingram.
And I think Burton's going to be the breakout, like one of the breakout stars of this year. He wasn't used as much in Philly because they had Zach Ertz. But his athleticism, his speed at the tight end position, and his size is going to allow Chicago to do so much with Trubisky. But I do think Jared Cook is definitely undervalued. Like, he's behind Vance McDonald from Pittsburgh, who Ben Roethlisberger has never really been a tight end passer. Like, he uses his tight ends every now and then. But for the most part, he relies on his speed guys on the outside. Cameron Brate's a wild card because who knows what that Tampa Bay offense is going to be. Jack Doyle is a pretty good tight end in Indy.
Even Tyler Eifert, like, we know he's good and talented.
He's gonna get hurt.
He's never, yeah.
Yeah. So one guy that I picked last year because I thought he was going to end up being a breakout rookie was O.J. Howard. So that's a guy that I think people need to keep an eye out for this year with that Tampa Bay offense. Is if that Tampa Bay offense is any good, I think it's going to be because O.J. Howard shines in his 2nd year in the NFL. Well, let's finish it up with our tight end busts. Alvin, your bust.
My bust is, where'd he go? Is Jordan Reed. Kirk Cousins loves to throw to his tight ends. I mean, Jordan Reed was his best offense weapon anyways, but
Kirk Cousins isn't there anymore.
Kirk Cousins not there anymore, so
it's another tight end passer and Alex Smith who loved to use Travis Kelce.
Yeah, but I think they play a little bit different. Like Travis Kelce, I think he's the more go deep guy, and Jordan Reed is more like the running ends and like he's the bigger body.
Yeah, Travis Kelce.
But he gets injured a lot throughout the season.
Is a little quicker. He's more of the receiver than Jordan Reed is. Jordan Reed's a phenomenal receiving tight end, but Travis Kelce can do things that Jordan Reed can't, like stay healthy. And that's, I think, where it's like you can take a flyer on Jordan Reed, but it'll be really tough to actually like draft him at his value.
I mean, because also Alex Smith, like, he might win you the game, but he only had like 160 something yards with like one touchdown, or he could probably have 2 or 3 touchdowns, but he still have like 176 yards throwing, because all he does is he just dinks it down to.
He was the best deep ball passer last year, right?
That was 1 year. How many years?
That was the first year that they actually let him throw the ball that deep.
Exactly.
They made it a point to throw the ball deep. I think Alex Smith, then that is going to be fine in the Washington offense. My big question on Jordan Reed is his health. So, like I said, at the position of where he's at, I'd rather skip a couple rounds and take a guy
like Charles Clay in Buffalo, and Joku in Cleveland. I'd rather take a flyer on Austin Seferian Jenkins or O.J. Howard. Andrew, your tight end bust.
My tight end bust, I want to say he's at the top of the list, too. Gronkowski.
So,
I see him only playing like 4 games this year. Casey said it earlier. I was like, he's gonna get hurt.
Yeah.
So I just want to get this right, because it's not coming from my mouth. So, you have Tom Brady as your bust quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
You have Gronk as your bust tight end.
Mm-hmm.
Do they still win their division?
Yes.
Yeah, because their division's shit.
I was like, yeah, no one really made any changes.
But yeah, he's gonna. Gronk and Brady are like number 1 tight end, number 2 quarterback, and I still think they are the biggest wild cards of the season, because you don't know how their bodies are going to react to another NFL season. So it's as if they both stay healthy all year, you're gonna see that they deserve those spots, but it's a big question mark. For me, to wrap it up, my bust tight end is Evan Ingram from the Giants. He's ranked as the 6th best tight end. He's above Jimmy Graham, who I think is going to have the best season out of all tight ends. And I just, with the way that the Giants' offense is going to be, I don't see him getting as many looks. And I think the only way that he's going to end up in the spot that he is for the season is if they have the same kind of injury-plagued season that they had last year, which I don't think is going to happen, which makes me think that Evan Ingram is not deserving of the tight end 6 spot. I would look at guys a little further down the list. Same thing that I said with Jordan Reed and Rob Gronkowski. Looking at guys like Austin Hooper at Atlanta, who you can probably make as your last selection. Guys like Hayden Hurst, who had a pretty good season in Baltimore last year. Even guys like Ryan Griffin in Houston. Who was their starter before? The main starting Houston tight end last year kept getting hurt. Ryan Griffin would fill into that spot until he got hurt. He did a heck of a job, and then Deshaun Watson got hurt as well, so that Houston offense kind of went down the toilet. That's our fantasy football. Like, the players to watch out for, our surprises, guys that we think are going to be busts, a couple rookies that you should really try to look for in the draft. Again, kickers, defenses, they're really insignificant for the most part. You might win a game because of your defense or your kicker. But you can get those as your last 2 picks and probably be fine. One note, quarterbacks. You can wait to draft quarterbacks. Let the guys use their top picks to get the Aaron Rodgers, the Tom Brady's, the Cam Newtons. The difference of points between Aaron Rodgers and right now number 17 is Marcus Mariota is maybe going to be 5 points a game on average. Whereas if you can get 2 top-tier running backs, a top-tier running back, top-tier receiver, the difference between a top-tier receiver and a middle-of-the-pack receiver could be like 10 points. Like, you can hold off until the middle rounds to get your quarterback. Depending on what kind of league you play in, how many people are in your league. if you play one quarterback, 10 teams, your number 10 quarterback is Matt Stafford, who might not put up tremendous numbers, but is going to put up good enough numbers that you won't be kicking yourself for not having Aaron Rodgers because you picked Todd Gurley instead of Aaron Rodgers. So that was the last thing that I wanted the last note is just wait on quarterbacks. Just pump the brakes on them. You'll be fine. You'll be able to make things work with Jimmy Garoppolo or Eli Manning or even Mitchell Trubisky. You'll be able to make it work with those guys. I promise.
Jeez.
So, as I said, we're skipping on the Fire, Dire, and Prophecy segment this week. We will be back next week to discuss more hot topics. We will just give our NFL season preview as that season does start September 6th, which is next Thursday. And we hope you enjoyed our talk on MANUUUU, our talk on Little League World Series and fantasy football. Thank you all for listening. I am Casey Coggins here with Alvin Hebert.
Ready for draft day.
And Andrew Lara.
Aloha.
Mahalo.